Hello and welcome to this session on reducing stress and improving your mental fitness. My name's Chris from Mindfirst, and this webinar, this session, this coaching session is brought to you by myself, Chris from Mindfirst, and in association with Randstad Education. So thank you, Randstad, for giving me the opportunity to record this and share this with all of you guys to hopefully support you in your mental health and wellbeing journey. It's been a hell of a ride for the last few years, and anything I think that can help individuals to prioritize and improve their mental well-being is fantastic and a really good thing. So I'll just go ahead. I'll share my screen in a second and start the presentation. There's a few slides to go through, a few little mini activities. So if you've got a notepad, that would be helpful. But you can also listen to this on the move in the car, use it as a bit of a podcast and do some reflections and thinking. Absolutely fine. No problem at all. So I just want to give a little brief background on me and sort of the history, if you like, of my own mental well-being, my own mental health, and what led me to where I am today, and helping busy professionals to reduce their stress and avoid burnout. So 5 years ago, back in 2018, I was diagnosed with burnout and was signed off for a couple of months in the early part of 2018. And on reflection, deep kind of reflection and self-coaching and self-help, as well as engaging in some few sessions of cognitive-based self-help therapy, I totally changed my mindset, rewired my brain, and saw the world in a very, very different way. And that's had a massive and profound effect on my own well-being. Please don't get me wrong, I still get stressed. I am a very busy person. I'm a teacher 4 days a week. I run my own business 1 day a week, and I'm doing sort of workshops. Just this morning, I was delivering a workshop to head teachers, and now I'm sort of recording this for you guys. And it's very busy. I'm also a reservist in the Royal Navy. And I have 2 young children and a wife who's a head teacher. So lots of stuff going on. And the strategies that I use to help me with my own well-being are really, really helpful. And some of these strategies I'm going to share with you today, and hopefully you can get something from it, and it will help you in your well-being journey. So the webinar will be maximum about one hour long. I've timed it. There'll be phases where I'll ask you to pause it or reflect on a few things and reflect on your own experiences. So please play the game. Please play along to get the most out of it. But if you don't want to play along, that's absolutely fine too. And just run it through, and then the time will go. But hopefully you will pick up a few helpful tips, tricks, and be able to reflect, and it will have a good effect on your mental health and your well-being. Okay, so I'm just going to go ahead and share my screen here. Okay, share screen. Here we go, and then we'll dive straight in and get on with our presentation. Okay, so. So if you want to, after watching this, get in contact with me about anything, then please do contact me on these platforms. Probably Twitter and LinkedIn are the best ones. So search Mindfirst, Mindfirst UK, Mindfirst Coaching on a platform, Chris Misselbrook, and you should find we've got a page on Facebook, Mindfirst Coaching. So just have a little dig around and let me know. But you can also email me if you'd like as well. It might be in the contact details, but it's just mindfirst.uk@gmail.com. But I think those contact details are on LinkedIn as well. So all right then. So the aims of the session today are, so I want to address the sort of link between happiness and values, and trying to get you to rethink about why you became a head teacher and how that aligns with your happiness right now. Because if they are not aligned, then that can have a negative effect on our stress levels. Then provide you with 3 strategies for reducing stress, really practical, easy things you can do. And then 2 practical things that you can sort of daily exercises to help to improve your mental fitness, which are kind of linked to the previous 2 stress reducing techniques. So it kind of just builds on that. And then finally, just do some self-reflection and some goal setting for the academic year ahead, as we're fast approaching the summer holidays, or you might be even watching this in September later on. Right. Alignment of values. Got a little task for you all to do, first of all. So grab a bit of pen, bit of paper, or notes on your phone if you're just listening to this on the go, or just think about this. Apart from having an impact on children, I want you to think about or write down 3 reasons why you wanted to become a head teacher. Now, I want you to be honest with yourself. I want you to be honest with yourself, because you might be surprised with the truth. Really go into yourself and your ego. And I don't mean ego in a negative way. Often it's spoken about in a negative way, but if we feed our ego, then that can fuel us in a positive way. So things like being in control. Often people like to be a head teacher because, or whatever your role is, because I know some of you might not be a head teacher, you might be a CEO, you might be a finance manager, you might be anything, but your role of leadership, why did you want that in the first place? So some people, it's about being in control, being in charge. Some people, it's about the fulfillment that they receive, the fulfillment of their perceived potential. Being a role model to others. Someone said you couldn't, so you're trying to prove a point. Financial reasons, sometimes that's the case. Like if you are the breadwinner of your family, you need to earn more money in order to keep the family surviving. Possibly that's a reason. The challenge, the professional challenge, to see if you could do it, that could be a reason. Or you saw a negative role model or worked with somebody in the past and you thought you could do a better job than them, or just someone said you should. You know, that thing about trying to, maybe you're doing it then to please others, because it could be someone in your family was a head teacher and you sort of think you're trying to live up to other people. Whatever it might be, like, be honest with yourself. Be honest with yourself. And it might be good reasons as well. You know, whatever it might be. It doesn't have to be any of those. It could be anything at all. So if you need a bit of time, just go ahead and pause the video, pause the recording, and then when you've got your 3, then come back. Okay, welcome back. If you have paused, the next thing I want you to do is 1 to 3. I want you to rank them. Rank them A to C, A, B, C. A is the most important for your level of happiness and fulfillment, and then down to C. So what is the most important why? Why you became a head teacher? What's your why? Simon Sinek, great book. If you haven't read it, order it. Yeah, it's a great book, sort of starting with that why. And that's where we should start from in terms of leadership. But actually, I'm asking you to think about it in a slightly different way of why you became a head teacher. But I guess that is the same, is what is your core why for being a head teacher, and the happiness it brings you in the fulfillment. So what is the most important one for your own level of happiness and fulfillment to your least? And once you've done that, I want you to scale, or to mark, like out of 10, 10 being the highest, 0 being the lowest, your feeling of satisfaction towards achieving this why. So if your why is linked with control, and you feel like you are in total control of your role as a head teacher, or your school, or your academy trust, or whatever it might be, then you're a 10. And if you feel totally out of control, you're a 7, okay, or a 0 or a 1. You get the idea. Okay, so for your A, and if your A is a 10 out of 10, so then move on to your B, okay, and if that's a 10 and that's a 10, move on to your C. So Scale them out of 10, 10 being the highest. And then I want you to, once you've done that, and you can pause the video if you need to, if it's not a 10, so if you do not feel that satisfied towards achieving your why you became a head teacher in the first place, then I want you to take an action step as to one thing you can do to move your satisfaction towards achieving that why by one. What's one thing you can do, and when you can do it? What is that one thing you can do to move up by at least one? So if it's a 7, how are you going to get to an 8? If it's an 8, how are you going to get to a 9? But more importantly, or most importantly, without sacrificing your well-being. One thing can you do? So just write down an action step. You might need to take some time on this. If you need to pause, then pause. Once you've got that thing, I want you to make a commitment of when you are going to start it. And then be specific. Be very specific on what exactly you will do. When will you do it? Be specific. And then hold yourself to account. So actually do it, So now with that, I just want you to think to yourself what that feels like if you achieve the 10 out of 10. So if you actually achieve it, what is that going to feel like? And the whole point of this and doing this is there's an American researcher who works at Harvard University. Some of you might know him, called Sean Aker. Fantastic man, really good public speaker and researcher. But he's written a book called The Happiness. I've got it here. So if any of you are looking on, so it's here. This book here called The Happiness Advantage by Sean Aker. It's a fantastic book, but he worked out that the best sort of leaders who are not necessarily stressed, they come from a place of happiness. So they are happy. They do things that make them happy, and therefore they work harder and they are more successful. So like the most successful people that are least stressed are also the happiest. So there's this formula that we teach our children at schools, and is this idea that if you work hard, then you'll become successful. And once you're successful, you'll become happy. And this is a formula that I personally, without even knowing it, was chasing, this idea of happiness in the horizon. And if I get the next promotion, if I get the next new car, then I'll be happy. I was always looking for the next thing, and I was always striving for more, and was working really hard in every area, because I thought if I worked hard, I'd achieve the next thing. I'd become happy and I'll become successful. And if I'm successful, or when I'm successful, I'll become happy. And the sort of tip of this for me, when I realized that this was a bit incorrect, or a rude word of BS, if you like, was in my leadership journey when I became a head of department. I realized that it didn't affect my happiness levels, and actually, like, that perceived success of becoming a head of department actually didn't really serve my happiness levels. And then when I went back to the drawing board and worked out really what it is that I love and makes me truly happy professionally, then I started to work harder at it and then become more successful. And that's kind of where Mindfirst has sort of developed from, is this like helping others, teaching others, coaching others, and doing public speaking and running workshops and training adults as well as students. And so if you focus on this idea of what it is you went into the job for, okay, we go into the jobs as head of department or running school leadership because of the impact. But if you take that away, what else is it? And then how often do you do it? Where are you 10 out of 10? Because if you're not an 8, 9, or a 10 for that why, then that's going to misalign with your values. And so, the truth is, if you love something, if you're happy, you are going to work harder. So this is what Sean Akers said, that this is what his research has said, that the happiest people, they work harder at it and then become more successful. So the actual happiness advantage of what we think makes us happy is actually the other way around. Like if we search for happiness, we will work harder and therefore we are going to be more successful. And he's found this out and he's proved this time and time again. So so I urge you to really think about your own happiness and why you became a head teacher and the values that it has for you personally, and how it feeds your ego. And again, I'm not using ego in a negative way here. I'm just using it as a psychological sort of term of personality and what drives us. And if you can feed that ego in a good way, then you're going to get that sense of fulfillment. And if you get that sense of fulfillment, you become more happier. And if you're happier, you'll work harder, you'll have more clarity, and then you'll become more successful. And therefore your staff will become more successful, and your children ultimately will become more successful, and you'll in theory get better outcomes. So yeah, just reflect on that, just think about that. And then use that task in whatever way. But the important message here is the alignment of your values and your behaviors are really important, because if your professional values and your professional behaviors are aligned, then professionally you will be happy. And you can take this into your personal lives as well. And then if you're happy, you will work harder and become more successful. So just reflect on that and then work out what you can do to make a step closer towards that feeling of satisfaction of that why for you. All right. Okay. The next thing I'm going to move on to is the stress reducing techniques. So I'm going to go through two techniques and then a kind of a mindset thing of number 3, prioritizing you. So number 1, the worry tree. Number 2, gratitude, or I'm going to simplify that to 3 good things or brags. And then number 3, prioritize you. So another task, I want you to I just want you, we're going to take 10 seconds. I'm going to time it on my watch here. And I want you just to think of, and just take a moment, think of in your day so far or the last 24 hours, make a list if you've got a pen and paper in front of you, or just think about it, just number it on your hands. Anything that is negative, anything that's gone wrong, anything that's not worked out, anything that's gone wrong, anything that's negative. And I want you to start that list now. Go. I'm going to go for 10 seconds. Write down that list, things that haven't worked out, things that are negative, and stop there. Okay, you might have got a few things, don't know. Now we're going to do exactly the same thing, but I want you to write down everything that has gone well, that is a good thing. Okay, so go. And stop. Now, without being in the same room as you, it's but normally what happens there is people find it harder to think positively than think negatively. You might have a few negative things and you might not have any positives. And this is linked with this idea that we are hardwired to think negatively. We are hardwired to worry. We are hardwired to look at threats. Now, this is an evolutionary thing. It's kept us alive. It's served us in the past. Thinking about the fight, flight, or freeze response to a stress or a threat or something like that. But our minds look for problems. Our minds look for things to worry about. Most things we worry about never come true, or we can't control them. So there's a really good activity here called the worry tree. Now I'll take you through it, but the next activity I want you to do is write down worries that you have. Okay, so number 1, what is it? Number 2, what is it? Number 3, what is it? So see if you can get to 10. I'm going to give you a minute to do that. Or, well, pause the video if you need a bit of time. And but I'll give you a moment if you're doing something where it's not possible to pause the video and just think to yourself, what things do you worry about the most? What's the number one thing, number two, number three things that you worry about? Okay, so go ahead and pause the video and try and get to 10 if you can pause the video. Okay, so hopefully you've got to 10 now or very close. The next thing I want you to do is, next to that worry, I want you to write yes or no. Now, you're writing yes or no linked with whether you can directly control that worry. So if your worry is external to you, then you can't control it. But it's direct control. So can you directly control what that worry is? Yes or no? Go down and write that next to every single one. Pause the video if you need to again, just for a bit more time. And what you'll probably find here is that most things on that list you cannot directly control. And this is the thing, that we worry about things that we can't control. And this is what feeds anxiety and worry. And the worry tree is a good thing. It helps us with this. And I'll share this with you in a second. Well, here it is right now on the screen. So you start, and if you're feeling stressed about something or you're worried about something, notice the worry that you are worried, and then write down what that thing is that you're actually worried about. Then ask yourself the question, can I control it? Can I do something about it? And sometimes, mostly, the answer is no, you actually can't. And therefore, you can give yourself permission to let that worry go and change your focus onto something different. There's sometimes you think, I can't directly control it, but I can influence it. Now, there's the influence is an interesting sort of concept, but you might think that you could send an email to tell someone how you might feel, or that to give advice to somebody, or whatever it might be. And you might feel that there is something that you can influence, but you can't directly control. And then the next phase of this is, once you've identified what the worry is, written it down, consider whether you can control it, yes or no. And if you can't control it, ask yourself whether you can influence it. And if you think, yes, maybe I can control it, or maybe I can influence it, then you move to making a plan. And so here, if you're following this on screen, this is where we're making the plan. And then the plan of action, the action steps, like what can you actually do? When can you do it? And how are you going to achieve that? Whether it's a phone call, a text, a message, a conversation, whatever it might be, writing something down, doing something. What is it that you can do? And then, so still at this phase, you haven't actually done anything, you're just planning it. And then work out whether it's appropriate or achievable to do right now, in the minute, or later. And it might be it's the next day, it might be it's the next week, it might be it's the next month, whatever it might be. If you then schedule it or do it, so coming down here to this level, if you can do it now, then do it, get it done, and then let the worry go and change the focus. If you can't do it now and you need to schedule it, then schedule it, let the worry go, and change the focus. So this is a really nice way of just flowing through a process called the worry tree, that you can work out what you can and can't control, and give yourself permission to let it go, or create a plan that will reduce stress and then let it go. Once you have done everything in your control around this worry, then the stress will dilute itself a little bit, and you can give yourself permission to just go, I've done everything in my control, move forward. All right, so that's something that a lot of people find really useful. Right, moving on to number 2. The next thing is 3 good things. The activity we did before about thinking about negative things and positive things, and it's easier to think negatively. This is backed up by neuroscience, and there's if you want to know what, so like neuroplasticity, so just click on this link here. There's a good video. I don't actually know if this video is going to play very well through through this, so I probably won't. I'm not going to play that. But if you just like YouTube neuroplasticity, you will find loads of stuff on it. But neuroplasticity is this idea that your brain is moldable like sort of soft plastic. You can create new neurological pathways, you can strengthen existing ones, and you can reduce um the sort of intensity of existing ones as well. So think about negative and positive thinking. We think negatively, and we're kind of hardwired to do it, evolutionary. And if you feed that negativity, so if you talk negatively about stuff to other people, then you're just reinforcing that neurological pathway. Whereas if you distance yourself from that negative thinking and deliberately think positively, then you are either going to start to create new synapses, new neurological connections, or strengthen existing ones and make them thicker and make them work more efficiently, so that over time your brain will actually start to think positively more naturally. So like, as we think negatively, you can change the way that your brain is wired. And this is backed up quite a lot through new neurological science and positive psychology. So my challenge for you here, and my top tip, my advice is, after every day, at the end of every day, write down 3 good things. And there's other things like gratitude, some of you might have heard of, and that's slightly different. That's what you are grateful for, but equally as powerful. And there's different ways of showing gratitude, and gratitude for others and gratitude for things. And you can look up gratitude, but just the really simple, easy tasks that you can do. And there's some good apps that you can just download on your phone with 3 good things, and you can just write them in, and they give you reminders to do it every day. You can set the reminders, but do it as a family. If you have a family and you live with a family, do it with your children around the dinner table, or every night when you go to bed, or put your children to bed. Do 3 good things with them. I do it with my 6-year-old every single night. We'll put her to bed, my wife or myself, and we will do 3 good things, and that's for her and for us. And this positive reflection on the day just is such a lovely end to the day, and it just makes any worries or any problems through the day, just dilutes them when you reflect on what has gone well. And when you do this, so I want you to think about this as I'm talking, and maybe write down what's gone well. It can be as small as having a nice cup of tea, or enjoying your lunch, or whatever it might be, to something massive like doing a big presentation in front of people and getting a massive round of applause at the end. Whatever it might be, like it can be massive or it can be small for you. The process of thinking positively is where the value is at, and you're forcing your brain to think positively, and just activating that area of your brain. So positive thinking is really powerful, and that in itself, like if you are thinking positively, then you're not thinking negatively, and that will de-stress you, because stress tends to be a sort of, or heightened stress is a negative thing. Obviously, you've got eustress that can be positive, and we all need a certain limit of stress in our lives to help us kind of function. But we're talking about top level stress and negative thinking here, that then can lead to sort of poor mental fitness. So 3 good things is a really, really good tool, really easy, and it will rewire your brain for positivity, for happiness, for gratitude, and it just create a nicer environment. So if you're a primary school teacher, or even secondary, like this is an activity that you can do with your children. You can do this with your leadership teams. You can just do this on your own. However you do it, it's just really important to force yourself to reflect positively on life. Okay, so number 3, then, third strategy is prioritize you, and this is something that we don't do enough. Some people do in pockets, but we don't do enough daily, because we're so busy prioritizing other things, other people, other tasks, that we forget to take a little bit of time out to check in with ourselves and just ask ourselves if we're okay, and to prioritize our own needs. And this is what's linked with kind of self-care. And people ask me sort of often, like, what is self-care? I've heard people talk about it, and it's looking after yourself. It's doing things that make you feel happy. It's doing things that de-stress you rather than stress you. It's taking time out. It's boundaries, putting in personal and professional boundaries. It's saying no nicely to people, not taking on too much, protecting your own stress levels. Don't sweat the small stuff. Now, it's so easy to become a perfectionist, but done is better than perfect. So if you've got loads of little stuff going on, just get them done and don't procrastinate too much. Don't overthink them. Just get them done and move forward. Because done is better than perfect. Okay, in terms of prioritizing you, schedule your emails if you are sending them outside of the time that you would normally work. So sometimes we accept that we do need to work on a weekend for a few hours, or in the evening, or whenever it might be. That's sort of not ideal, but for you, for one reason or another, that it works for you, or you need to do it in that moment. So my advice, if you need to send an email, I've said about this before, I use this quite a lot, but if you need to send an email, send it for another time, the next day, in mid-morning, whenever it is, 8 o'clock, whenever it is, like schedule it for another time in Monday morning, if it's the weekend. And not only that makes you feel good because you know they're not going to receive it, unless of course it's priority and they need to receive it and they're aware of it. But if you can send it and delay it, so it's either delay send or schedule send, or delay delivery, I think, depending on the emails that you use. But if you do that, if you delay it, you also are not expecting a response. And that's the key thing, is you send the email, you know they're not going to receive it, and therefore you don't think, oh, I just have a quick check on my emails to see if they've got it and to see if they've responded. It can just release that kind of stress from your mind, and then you can just close your laptop or turn the computer off, or your phone, whatever it might be, and just go, okay, I know they're not going to receive it until Monday morning or tomorrow morning or whatever it might be. So actually there's no point looking at my emails because I'm not going to get a response because I've scheduled all of them. So it serves your well-being as well as serving their well-being too. Okay, so next one. This is a great little activity. So when you feel like you are getting a bit stressed, and in order to prioritize yourself, you can go through this 4-step process of thinking about something you're doing that you can pause. So something that's causing you stress that you can pause, something that's causing you stress that you can pass to somebody else, you can delegate, something that is causing you a little bit of stress that you can literally stop doing it temporarily, or stop doing it full stop. Lots of stops there. But so what can you pause, what can you pass, what can you stop? And that's going to take away some stresses from you, and hopefully make a bit of space for doing something, doing a bit of self-care, doing something that will make you feel better. So what can you start? Is it starting to go to the gym a little bit more? Is it starting to do a bit more exercise? Is it starting to do a bit more crafts, crochet, gardening, whatever it is for you that you know you enjoy and that makes you feel happy and de-stresses you, but you've stopped doing it temporarily because you're so busy. Work out what you can pause, what you can pass, what you can stop, and then that will make space for something you can start again that you've not been doing for a while. So what can you pause, what can you pass, what can you stop, and what can you start? And that will help you to prioritize yourself. And when you're talking about these things to start, and self-care and things that top you up, things that you know improve your well-being, plan that into the weekend, plan that in on the evenings. If you want to have a date night with your partner, then plan that in non-negotiably every week. My wife and I have it on a Wednesday. And basically what that means is we give ourselves permission to not do any work, to spend time with each other. We don't always, but we often sit at the table and don't have a TV on and talk with each other and do those things that actually force us to embed our relationship in our really busy lives. And yeah, sometimes we have a glass of wine, but it just allows us to reconnect formally and make time for us as a couple. So that's us. But also sometimes I will plan in our diary, our home diary, when I'm going out for a run, so that my wife knows what I'm doing, and I'm planning it. And it also kind of holds me to account for doing it as well. So I'll see, oh, right, I'm actually going for a run. And that's all good. Um, so planning your time, prioritize yourself. Self-care is really important. There's a nice image here. If you're watching this on the video, that you've got, notionally 4 quadrants to self-care, and that's the mind. So things like reading, writing, planning, visualization, new skills, learning new things. The spirit, meditating, stillness, journaling, clarifying values. We spoke about values earlier. Spending time with ... yourself, others, whatever it might be. Getting out in nature, listening to music. That's all things that are going to help you, help your spirit. And that's what it's sort of branded as. And then the heart, so the love, the building relationships, building internal relationships with yourself, and self-love, which is a good thing. The giving yourself service, volunteering, laughing, loving things, that's really important. And then finally, the body, your own physiology. So what you're doing, sort of your nutrition, your health, your movement, rest, relaxation, whatever it might be, sort of things that are going to improve your body, going to the gym, whatever it might be. So loads of stuff. It will be different for everybody. It always is. But prioritize you and prioritize your body and mind, and your management of that. Because if you are less stressed, if you are happy, if you are in work, if your body systems are working well for you, you are then going to be able to think with more clarity, make better decisions. Your energy will be more positive, and that people feed off of you for that. If you're grumpy as a leader, if you are grumpy, that does rub off on other people, and they become grumpier, and then everyone's day becomes a bit grumpier, and it's this vicious cycle of negativity and grumpiness. And that might have stemmed from the number one leader in that organization, or school, or department, or whatever it might be, because they've snapped. And so prioritize yourself, prioritize your well-being and your mental health, because it ripples out from you. That energy ripples out, but as much as it can negatively affect people, if you ripple out positivity and gratitude and thanks and well-being for your staff, then they are going to feel valued, and that is just going to ripple out to anyone that they line manage, and so on and so forth. So as much as negativity ripples, positivity ripples as well, positive energy. Okay, so moving forward, our next things are 2 practical methods. So journaling. Some people journal, most people don't, a lot of people don't. But journaling is fantastic for your emotional self-awareness. And all you need to do is write down like how you're feeling, and why you might be feeling that, and have that little conversation, like 3 good things. You can write down 3 good things. You can write down things you're worried about and work through those in the worry tree. Like, that's good journaling. So it just improves your relationship with yourself, and it can, sometimes we just need to offload. So loads of you on here will be able to resonate with this, that you, after a stressful day at work, you come home, and if you live with a partner, or even if you live on your own, you have this feeling of needing to offload. This is why lots of people have supervision in safeguarding roles, and really everyone needs a bit of supervision, because you just need to externalize the stresses and the frustrations. But often we offload on the people we love the most. Take a marriage, for example. If you come home and you offload on your partner, that's oozing out negativity, and they adopt a little bit of that. But if you can go home and offload all of the negativity onto a page, So you get it out because already you just want to get it out and you want someone to listen. Well, the page will listen. So get it out, whack it down a bit of paper. The page will listen, and the page never judges you, which is the brilliant thing. So sometimes you don't want people to try and solve your issues. You just want to offload your worries or your negativity, and that's it. And the page allows you to do that. So really practice that and use your journaling like positively. I'd urge everyone to go out and buy a notebook. Just use it to write down your thoughts, and you can do this positively as well. Like when things are going well, write them down. When things aren't going well, write them down. That's all good self-awareness, and the more self-aware you become, the more self-aware you can become, the better your mental fitness will be. Um, okay, and then finally, we're going to move on to breathing meditation. So, breathing meditation, meditation generally is fantastic, but you can just do a really simple 5 breaths meditation. So, just taking a breath in and then a breath out. So, we're going to do this now. So, just get comfortable, or if you're walking, or just listen in. And I just want you to focus on your breath. And if you're in a position to close your eyes, then that's fantastic. So, just get yourself comfortable. And I just want you to take a breath in, into the nose, out through the mouth. Close your eyes if you want. In through the nose, and out through the mouth. Let's do one more. In through the nose, out through the mouth. In through the nose, out through the mouth. One more, final one. In through the nose, hold, and out through the mouth. And then when you're ready, just open your eyes. If your eyes are closed, just come back. Now, I'd imagine if you did that, if you joined in with me on that, your stress level hasn't increased, and it's probably decreased by 1% or so. Because by slowing down your breathing, what you're doing is also slowing down your heart rate, and it's sending a parasympathetic message through your nervous system to your brain to say the threat has gone, because you're forcing all your systems to slow down. So all of your receptors, neurological receptors in your body will notice this and go like, breathing rate slow down. Okay, send a message back to the brain to say, hey, the threat, the stress has gone. So by slowing down your breathing deliberately and doing a breathing meditation, that was just a bit of breath work really rather than meditation, but by slowing it down, you are then just giving yourself that moment of stillness, that moment of pause, that is just going to reduce or lower your stress levels and just allow you to rebalance it a little bit. So hopefully that's been useful, and you've picked up things, and it'll be different for different people. But the most important message that I want to share with all of you guys today here is you need to put your mind first. Now, I know that could be a bit corny because it's not my company, Mindfirst, but that's kind of where the idea for my company came from, was that putting your mind first is something that people find very difficult, uncomfortable. It feels selfish, but it absolutely isn't. It's essential to wellness and good leadership, because you can't lead unless you are feeling mentally well, mentally fit. So put your mind first, because you are the most important energy in your school. Or if you are not necessarily school based and you're a CEO of a multi-academy trust, or an exec head, or a finance leader of finance, or whatever your role is, you are still a really important energy. And energy can be passed through videos, through video conferencing, Zooms, in person, telephones. Like, people can feel that energy. And if you are giving off negative energy, that is going to ripple out. That is going to lower the energy of the people that you are with. But if you're giving off positive and good energy, then that is going to help the people that you are leading. And that is so important and will then help the people that they're leading. And then ultimately that will feed to teachers, and teachers lead children. And if children are happier, then they are going to be more focused, feel safer, and want to engage more in lessons, and their learning will improve. It's just one technique, it's one method, but it's so important. Like, we deal with people, we know that relationships are so important. That relationship with yourself is really important too. So you need to prioritize your own well-being first before you can then start to truly prioritize others. So put your mind first. You are the most important energy in your school or in your academy trust, and prioritize that, and then help others to do the same and prioritize theirs. And it could be as simple as just not getting that report done, not doing that bit of data, missing a deadline by one day because you're just really stressed and you need to take a bit of time for yourself. Email someone to say, I'm really sorry, I need an extension because I'm a bit overwhelmed. It will be done by this day. Ask permission for that. Ask for a little bit of help, and that's okay. Okay, right. So, final thing I want you to do, and you can pause this and take your own time over it, is to do a bit of self-reflection and reflect what are your top 3 takeaways from today's workshop. And please, like, send those to me if you can be bothered. I would love to hear what your personal takeaways are from this session, as it's different, always different from everyone. But contact me on social media. It'd be fantastic to hear from you. And what are the 3 things you have learned? They may be the same as your takeaways, they may be slightly different. And then how are you personally going to apply what you've learned or your takeaways to your personal well-being or your personal mental fitness? How are you going to change that? How are you going to improve it for the future? And then I want you to set yourself a goal for next year, a wellness goal, a well-being goal for 2022, or academic year of 2022, 2023. What are you going to do? How are you going to do it? When you're going to do it? And the impact, then the perceived impact that you think that's going to have for your school and everything else. Because it's a stressful place. We know that, teaching and education, but we are in control of more than we believe. We can control our own stress levels, the way we think about certain tasks, and prioritize ourselves. And if you start doing that, then that is going to just sort of help and help your positive energy. Okay, so thank you. I hope that's been of value. And as I said, it was going to be about an hour, but with the stops, it probably is. And yeah, do get in contact, and want to just give a final thanks to Randstad for all their support with they do for mental health and well-being of head teachers and leaders and school generally, and engaging so much with the work that I do as well. It's fantastic, and it's brilliant to be aligned with them. So yeah, thank you all so much, and look after yourselves, prioritize yourselves, and have an absolute fabulous school holiday if you get this and watch this before the summer. All right, team. I am just going to stop sharing my screen right now, which I think I've done, and give you all a big wave and thank you for listening, and go out there and look after your well-being and the well-being of your staff as well. Take care all. Thank you. Bye-bye.